Well, that didn't work out the way I expected it to. Well, actually, it kind of did work out the way I expected it to. So, my grand plan of making a short 20-minute video on how I put the electronics in the bases of my nightlights, quite frankly, turned into a 2-hour epic. So, I really truly feel that it is vitally important that I include all of the process that I go through to make these things. So I'm going to break the video into 2, possibly 3 parts. An explanation of how and why I'm doing what I'm doing, with a bit of doing it and then some more doing it. Like I said, the video turned into 2 hours long, and I can't post a 2-hour video. Nobody will watch it. Nobody watches my videos to begin with, and a 2-hour video, and nobody in their right mind is going to watch that. So basically, this is part 2.1, and then there's going to be a part 2.2, and then there might be a part 2.3. And then we're going to have a whole nother video of how I make the actual lens itself, which probably is going to turn into another 2-hour video. I doubt it. It doesn't take 2 hours to make one of those. But one of the things that you really need to take into consideration that, yeah, it's a 2-hour video, but it was 8 hours worth of work to make it, to make the part, or to make the lamp itself. Okay, welcome back. This is going to be a This Old Tony style video because, quite frankly, nobody wants to see my face anyway. Now, this is part 2 of. I'm hoping I can just do this in 3 parts. It's going to be. This is going to be hopefully not quite as long as the other video, but I like to talk and I like to make sure that everything I do is very thoroughly explained. Now, what is all this crap that I have laying out here on the table? All this crap, well, all this crap is all the stuff that I need to go through before I make these night lights. Now, in these buckets here, I have the lenses. I'm going to call them lenses. I don't know what else to call them, so I'm going to call them lenses. This is the one that George made. This one's pretty straight. I think this is one that George made too. And so we have a bunch of these. Now each one is a unique piece. I discussed that in my ad nauseum. I don't think I can stress enough how unique these are. I have a bunch of them. I mean, like, you'll get some that maybe have similar colors in them. These are actually hollow. We're not going to do these today. But they're all 100% unique, and they're unique because I can't do 2 of the same thing at any given moment. Now, something I think is very important that needs to be talked about is how do I go from a concept, right? I have this great idea, to a finished product. Well, and this is anything, is research and development. This is a finished product. Now, off camera here, I have a power strip that has the USB plug in it. But that's not where I started with this. Now you can just turn it on, and there we go. And we can dim them, we can make them brighter, we can get text messages while we're trying to do stuff. All right, we're gonna shut the camera off for a second. Okay, that's hilarious. Somebody just texted me and asked me how much one of these costs. Well, the short answer is, and I'll put it right in the video because somebody asked me, I'm shooting for a minimum of $50 a piece for these. That's why I'm shooting these videos, is I want to explain thoroughly why these are so expensive. So, back to what I was saying. Research and development on these has been, I don't want to say expensive, but it's definitely been extensive. So, like I stated in my earlier videos, every single aspect of these are made by me and my partner George. So George is doing some of the lighting pieces. Like I said, this is one, I'm fairly sure, one that he made, or the lenses. And we throw a lot of them away because they just don't turn out. I mean, this one looks cool, and I'm going to make a light out of it, but it doesn't really, I don't really like it. George doesn't really like it. And as an artist, you kind of like, you know, but somebody else might like it. So we're going to put them together. Yeah, there you go. Where was I? Oh, research and development and the construction of these. So I'm going to set this one aside here for a second, and then I'm going to talk about how we went from sitting around with a brainstorm to a completed project. Now, I have another lamp that I built out of some pieces that we had laying around, which is also for sale. I'll post a picture of it in the video here. That is 110 volts. So I am not an electronics guru by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, I've had a tendency to electrocute myself from time to time, whether it be from 110 volts, 240 volts, 12 volts, or 50,000 volts out of a lawnmower or an ignition system. So remember, kids, it's not the voltage that gets you, it's the amperage. So, why did I choose what I chose? Well, it's pretty simple, really. This is the guts. If you ever wanted to know what the inside of an LED bulb that you screw into a 110 volt socket looks like, well, this is it. I dropped this one and broke the glass, so I figured, why not disassemble it? Because, you know, you got to see what's inside of it. Now, each one of these, let's see if we can zoom this in a little bit better. Now, each one of these, oops, butterfingers. Each one of these little squares here is an LED, okay, light emitting diode. If you don't know what an LED is or what light emitting diode means, then go research it somewhere else. I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm just a guy that likes to take stuff apart and occasionally zaps myself. Now, the back side of this thing is where all the magic happens. Now, again, I am not an electrical engineer, but I can tell you right now that this is a capacitor. These are two LEDs. That's the contacts to the other side of the IC board. That's an EEPROM. So basically the back side of this takes 110 volts and steps it down to a nominal voltage of 5.5 volts. We're going to get to that in a second, or nominal voltage of 5 volts. If you have the time and you want to research it any further, there's a goofy guy on YouTube. He goes by Electro Boom. He's always zapping himself. He's pretty humorous, but he's also an electrical engineer, and he thoroughly explains how you go from 110 volts to 5 volts DC. And this is how you do it. There's it's a rectifier and resistors and capacitors and all kinds of other shit that we're not going to do. So the next step was to research the LEDs themselves. Now, I purchased a bulk pack of LEDs from our friends in Red China, Chanzan. These came from Amazon. Now, every single LED has it has the explanation of what it is. So you have and like I said, don't quote me on this because like I said, I electrocute myself on a regular basis. The upside is 5 volts doesn't really hurt too much. It doesn't hurt. You don't even feel it. So forward voltage is 3 to 3.2 volts at 20 milliamps, and it explains the bunch. So that's the that's how much voltage it takes to actually run one of these. So I had this brainstorm when I was doing it, These are resistors. We're going to get to this stuff in a second. So I had a brainstorm where I was just going to use a 3-volt transformer like this one here. Again, purchased from our friends from Amazon and manufactured in the People's Republic of China. The problem is this plug. This plug is not truly universal, and I had no real good way of making it work, right? So I came up, this was my very first prototype for this. I used way too heavy wire. I used this weird stuff that I bought for my motorcycle years ago, and I just attached the LED to it. Because, again, this is 3 volts right out of the box. If you're not familiar with how these things work, every single one of these power adapters has this explanation on it. As a matter of fact, most electrical things do if you know what to look for. So the model, the input voltage, and then the output voltage. The output voltage on this particular charger here, or this particular adapter, is 3 volts, 1 amp. The standard USB plug that pretty much everybody has everywhere, it's a universal serial bus, I think that's the correct name for it. The output voltage on those is 5 volts. Now, the required voltage for an LED is less than 5 volts. I'm not going to go any further into LED electronic stuff because it's really just not worth it for me to try to explain that. So this is okay. So this was a prototype. This was actually originally designed to hold one without a base, and then we came to quickly realize that it wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work well. So this goes into the scrap bin. Money spent on research and development. This one, again, I purchased these plugs in bulk from our friends at the People's Republic of China. Now these are okay. So basically what I was originally going to do was offer the power outlet and then these things. But quite frankly, these are not very elegant, and it would require too much, I don't want to say work, but they're just not, I don't know, that's just pigtails, just kind of ugly. And it's too stiff, and it just doesn't really want to cooperate. Now they work. I mean, obviously they work, because if they didn't work, I wouldn't be showing them off. Of course, I have one without a thing on it. There we go. So these worked. But again, I didn't like this. I I also didn't like the fact that there wasn't an on-off switch. So I saved these. For what I just did. Take it, stick it in there, see what it looks like real quick. And then it either goes into the cullet bin, or it goes into the maybe we'll make a light out of it bin. Okay, now, next step. These mama jammies. This one's actually already assembled, but I'm going to disassemble it and then reassemble it for the video. Now these have a USB-A plug. Now they only provide power. So if you plug this into your computer, you're not gonna, my lights are not gonna steal your data. They're not gonna control your camera. They're not gonna, record you taking a poop or any of that stuff. It's purely power supply. So you can plug this into any USB outlet and it only picks up the power. I've also had a couple questions of why don't you make them battery operated? Well, it goes back to this thing. Even using, so if I was to use a lithium-ion battery, which is the new standard in batteries, I'd have to install a charging circuit. And now the charging circuits are relatively small, but I got to buy the charging circuits. And I don't want to do that. And I'd have to make the base large enough and carve out the base large enough to accommodate a battery that lasts more than 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. I mean, I can make an LED operate off of a button cell and it'll run maybe 5 or 6 hours, but that's about it. Or you have to have a battery pack like this so it'll last more than 20 minutes. It's just not worth it. But the upside of using the USB plug is that anybody can plug one of these into any battery supply that has a USB on it, and it works. As a matter of fact, it helps if you turn this one on. Ooh, I think I may have created a short circuit there, did I? Damn thing worked a minute ago. Make an ass out of you and me. There we go. It's the battery, not the... This battery is a really large battery. I have another one in the house that you just plug it in and it works. But this is a battery supply, and these will work perfectly fine off one of these little backup battery things. So I'm going to unplug it because unguided LEDs are annoyingly bright. I found that out the hard way too. So, where was I? Oh, yeah, People's Republic of China. I can't make these for the price that I can buy them for. Now I'm going to be buying these in bulk to try to get the price down. As it stands right now, I paid I think $3 or $4 a piece for these. I only bought my initial purchase was 5 because they were so expensive. And then I found some Chinese reseller that sells them for considerably less. So I have to buy these. I can't make these. Okay. Now, what's the next step in the process here? So the next step in the process, or the next step in the process was putting together test lights. Now, each one of these test lights is labeled, okay? And they all started out as raw LED bulbs. And then I'm going to put together the whole thing so you'll get an idea exactly how these things work in a minute. And resistors, because remember, the LED operates on less than 5 volts and it requires a resistor to step the voltage down. And then I took the time to label all these. Because I got a shit memory as an old man, and I didn't want to have to remember which resistor I had to install on them. And we're going to get to resistors in a minute. And we're also going to get into this little crazy board that I got going on here. So I have this little test lead set up here that I can just swap out or add or subtract lights to as I go. These lenses are really unique in that because of the process that we use to create the color inside of them, different shades and different colors and different temperatures of light will create a different effect on the inside of them. So this one, which is what I'm going to use for the test, or for this example, I'm going to put a bright white light on the inside. And, oh, you can see it. Let me turn the light off real quick here. Ooh, spooky. So you can see here, Oh, it comes up really great. Now this is what's actually going to be projected onto the ceiling, right? It'll be much wider, but it projects that onto the ceiling because this is literally like a Fresnel. This is literally a Fresnel lens, and then you can see the colors pop on the inside. Now I can change the type of color that I put in here. Let's do something radical. I can add these together. And this 10 mil tubing is nice because it allows me to stuff two in there. So if I put a green one in there, it changes the color. It's almost non-existent. But I can also add the white one and mix and match the coloring. You know, trust me, it works. The green one here is very dim. You can barely see it. But the white one is super duper bright. But if you mix the two of them together, you do change the color and the temperature of the light. Each one of these, before I assemble them, gets this treatment. Okay, so I'll take each one of these pieces and I will go through the lights and then decide what array I want to install on the inside of these.